Hello everyone, I just recently got a drone. So I did a bunch of research to try and figure out which drone to get because I was looking at the Mavic Air 2 or the Mavic Mini 2. I spent about a week doing research on which one I should get based on the features, because the main features I wanted of the Mavic Air 2 was the tracking, the active track, so you could like walk around and it'll follow you because it has a few more sensors than the Mini 2. And then I also liked the slow-mo. You can do 240 frames a second on 1080 and then 60 frames a second on 4K. And then there's HDR, so those are kind of the main things I wanted. But you have to register this one with the FAA because it's over 249 grams. And then the Mavic 2, you don't because it's smaller, but you don't get the slow-mo. You don't get the active track. It only has 2 sensors on the front. So you can do some cool things where it kind of rotates around you or follows you, but you don't get some of the main features of the Mavic Air 2. So I looked around online, and the other thing was price, because I wanted the Fly More combo. I was like, do I want to spend $1,000 or do I only want to spend $700? So it's about $350 difference. And I actually found a really good deal on this one for $700. It's almost brand new. There's a few hours of flight time on it, and it's the Fly More combo. So I think I came out on top with a really good deal on this one. So then I figured out after buying the drone, then registering it is an entirely other can of worms. Then you got to register the drone, and then that comes down to, do you want to be a recreational flyer or do you want to be a Part 107 registration, which is where you make money from the drone. So I discovered that since if you make money on YouTube that you need to register it as a Part 107. I watched a video of a guy who apparently had the FAA call him because they saw some of his videos online and they were noticing that he was in violation of a few things. So I figure I don't want that to happen to me if I end up flying this and then get a fine of some kind. And of course I'm like day 2 or 3 into my research on how to register and how to fly it. So I definitely don't know everything there is to know. So if there is interesting things I should know, please leave them in the comments. I definitely want to learn how to do this the right way. But so I registered it as a 107. Now I can fly it, but the only thing that's kind of weird is the one main thing is you can't fly at night if you're registered as a Part 107, whereas you can if you're just a recreational flyer, but then you can't make money from that. So it's just kind of a weird jumbled thing at this point. I probably won't be flying it at a whole ton at night, but it would be cool to have that availability. So the other interesting thing is there's apps you can download that'll tell you where you can fly, I think when you can fly, how high you can fly, and then some of them you can actually in real time request flights from the FAA. So I live really close to an airport, so flying it around my house or in my neighborhood, I assume I'll probably have to request flights. But it'll be kind of interesting to learn how the FAA works, maybe some of the rules and regulations, and probably find out some interesting tidbits that I didn't know before. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was this Spyder color checker. I wanted to mention that Spyder sent this to me for free to try out, so I thought I would open it up and see what's inside, test it out, and see how it works. So it seems pretty simple. I do love that they gave you a cable tie here. I use these things all the time. You just pull it apart like so, and then you have this thing acts as kind of a counterweight. You can slide this along the cable here. But then you have your sensor, and then there's a 1/4-20 on the bottom here, which I assume you could probably use. There might be a function here to read ambient light, and you can set this on a tripod or something. So let's give this a whirl. So what you want to do first is open up the Spyder X Pro software, and then you want to make sure you're doing all these things, warm it up, make sure your lighting conditions are great, your display options, all these things, just kind of read through. It's pretty simple. So then you'll follow this next step. It asks you your screen backlight. Mine is a white LED. This explains what you have on your screen. And then we're going to go to next. I'm going to do a full calibration, hit next, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to plug this thing in One of the reasons I like that they give you a cable tie is I usually put these on a lot of my cables, especially if they're long like this and you don't need the entire length. This way you can take out just a little bit on either end and then keep the bulk of it wrapped, and it makes everything much more tidy. But let me turn off the lights over here so this camera can see the screen a little bit better. So now that we've completed the color check, let's check out the difference between before and after. So what you do is come on here and save this as a new name or new profile or something. I'm just going to leave it as MacBook, and then hit save. And then you can go to next, and then you can go to switch, and you can see the difference between the uncalibrated view and the calibrated view. So you can see that mine was a little bit on the greener side before calibration. So then you hit next again, and it'll tell you your color space, kind of how everything looks, and then you hit quit and you're good to go. So a color checker is a pretty handy tool to have, especially if you're doing prints, but just really for anything. If you're doing color correction, it's nice to have something like this. If I'm doing retouching and I'm playing around with color a lot in my edit, it just lets me know that the colors are very accurate. All right, you guys, that was just kind of a random update episode. If you guys do have any questions, leave them in the comments field. I'll do my best to answer them, and thanks everyone for watching.